Hello everyone, this is a perfect opportunity to show everybody what happens in Athens, Greece, at least in my neighborhood, when it rains really hard. This might look like, if you look out in the distance, you'll see just how deep the waters are running. This is an absolute river that's coming through my neighborhood, and it's coming from up there and it's running down and it's pretty deep. The further you go toward that sewer down there that's at a lower elevation, the deeper it gets. It might look like a flood, but it's absolutely not a flood. What you're witnessing is what happens when you have a city that has many different elevations throughout it. So when it rains really hard, oh, look at this lady. She's going to attempt to cross it. Anyway, when it rains really hard, the water goes from the highest elevations to the lower elevations. So, look at that. It's just rushing. It won't stop rushing. Oh, poor lady. Look at her feet. Oh, you couldn't make this up. Anyway, so the lowest point is the harbor, Piras, and all this water is heading toward there. So we're not at the highest elevation here, and we're not at the lowest. We're somewhere in the middle, and this is what we get you gotta see up there what's going on. I don't know how good the video is gonna come out, but it's just rushing. About 20 minutes ago, before I got my phone to video this, it was much worse. I just couldn't believe. Look how fast it's going. I couldn't believe how much water was coming down. The sad part is we don't have that many rainy days in Athens. We'll spend 8, 9, 10 months without any rain, which is terrible. But then, once in a while, we'll get a thunderstorm like this. Yeah, I want to see just how well he goes through that water up there. Okay. He made it. See, right up there at that point that he turned, there's a big sewer that's sucking up all the water. Yeah. And of course we have a traffic jam in my street. It's not often we have traffic jams here at the side street. Yeah, to rush through it. Biggest problem is you don't know what awaits you on the other side and what's coming towards you. This is one of these scenarios where if you hit a pothole and it's a big enough pothole, you're in trouble because you're not going to see it. You're going to be too busy concentrating on the water. Look at all this water. It just amazes me how many thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons are going through. And then, of course, like I said, this water continues all the way down to the port, Piraeus, it's the lowest point of Athens. And it's all coming from higher elevations. I really don't know what to say because this lasted before I got my phone out. It was going on for an hour or two, and it's still continuing. And even though there's so much water going through, this is still not a flood by any means. It's not seeping into the houses. The city was built in such a way where this water was meant to drain downward. And of course, if you look up the street, there's hardly any water. Because from that side, there's a lower elevation. So the water won't come up here. They'll be trying to find from the lower elevation to an even lower elevation. But here it's coming from a higher elevation. Now I need to go where those Christmas lights are. I need to go over there, but I don't think I'm going to make it without getting so soaked. This is funny when people stop here and they think it's going to let up. And it's not letting up. Oh, she took off her shoes. That's the way to do it. But keep your socks on. That way, when you put your shoes on, that was interesting. I've never seen anybody do that before. Oh, human ingenuity. You're not going to catch me taking my shoes off. Right now, at much lower elevations than we have in this neighborhood, some of these neighborhoods just have thousands and thousands of gallons per minute going right through their front doors. It's unbelievable. The kids don't want to. The kids don't want to try it. They're like, mom's crazy. Uh-oh. Yeah, now that he's stuck. Oh, that's not a kid. That's an old lady. Ah, she was stuck in high heels. Okay. If our streets were even though, and they weren't on a slope, you see that? If our streets were even, they weren't on a slope, every house here would be flooded right now. We would have no electricity. People would be screaming for help. But the fact that, like I said, Athens is very uneven. It changes the whole landscape. The fact that it's still thundering and booming tells me this isn't letting up anytime soon. Although I think the water has diminished a little bit, at least its flow has. Anyway, enough's enough. I don't want to bore anybody. If this gets worse, I'll come back and film again. But at least you guys get the idea of what it's like when it rains really hard in Athens. At least in my neighborhood. I wish I could go to some of these other ones that are really low, these streets. You guys would freak out at what happens there. Anyway. Hope you're better off than we are over here. Have a happy Christmas.